Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a level 20 build guide for the Duskblade Spell Knight in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod that was made by the BG3 Duskblade class, and what's fun about this level 20 build is you get to use two-handed weapons, attack with them, get some extra spells, and some cool abilities which we'll be breaking down in this video. So the Duskblade, it has access to all of Mistress spells, and I'm a big fan of mods like this, so definitely recommend having Mistress spells here. So we're going to go with something like Frostbite, Booming Blade, and Green Flame Blade, which cover a lot of different elemental damage types. And for our ability scores, we're going with 16 Dex, 14 Constitution, 16 Intelligence, and then 10 Charisma and Wisdom, and 8 into Strength. And for our scores here, you can stay with the Athletics and Arcane, as those fit pretty well thematically. Now with the Duskblade, we get this special attack, the Arcane Channeling, which allows us to add additional force damage to our attacks when using a single-handed or versatile weapon. However, with the Spell Knight, we can expand this to two-handed swords, so that's exactly what we'll be using in this video. So I'll break down gear as well as combat near the later half of this video. At level 2, we get combat casting. You're adept at casting spells in combat. You get advantage on saving throws to maintain your concentration. And we get to choice the spells here. Shield, super useful. Increases your armor class, that's very great. We also got Magic Missile. These two are just really nice to take always at the start of the game. But Frost Fingers, if you got Mr. Spells, Thunder Wave, and Find Familiar are some other good ones. Even Absorb Elements can be very nice too, so we'll roll with those two there. At level 3, we get to choose our subclass, with the Spell Knight being the one we're going with. This gives us the Arcane Channeling two-handed. Allows you to use a heavy arms to use a two-handed weapon to channel arcane power. So previously we could only use level one-handed weapons to do our arcane power. Now we can use two-handed ones. And we get to choose another level 1 spell here. Thunder Wave's nice for the pushback early game. This can be really devastating to enemies, so it's a nice thing to have. At level 4, we get a choice of another cantrip here. And you got like Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, or even Lightning Lure to pull an enemy closer to you. And for our next leveled spell, we get some great options like Hold Person. Now we have level 2 spells opening up. We're going to go with that. Misty Step, Mirror Image, and Scorching Ray are two other great ones. And we're going to go with an ability score improvement to increase our overall dexterity. With the Duskblade, we get to add half our intelligence modifier to our armor class of not wearing heavy armor, so this can get pretty nice. At level 5, we get the extra attack, and we get quick cast. You've owned the fusion of arcane power and martial techniques. After you cast a spell, you make a free weapon attack. Pretty cool. And we get to choose another spell, with Misty Step being a very effective one that we want to take, as that teleport is super useful. At level 6, we get a class feature Spell Power, +1 to overcome the resistance, so +1 to spell save DC. And we also get another choice in spell here, and as I mentioned, the Scorching Ray can be quite nice. You can also go with Mirror Image. This gives you a +9 to your armor class, which is really effective. Darkness can also be nice too, if you wanted to focus on that, and like maybe if you had a Warlock to help out. But at level 7, we get the subclass feature Armored Mage. And you gain armor proficiency with heavy armor. Your specialized training allows you to channel arcane power while wearing heavy armor. And for our next level spell, we get access to level 3 spells with some really good ones be like Haste, Lightning Bolt, and Fireball. I love Haste, but it's best to have a sorcerer twin this to your character. So we're going to go with Lightning Bolt. Counter Spell is also a really nice choice because you can just stop a spell from being cast, which is effective. At level 8, we get our choice of another spell here, with Fireball or Counter Spell being the top choices. And get another ability score improvement. May as well just max out our intelligence at this point. Once we make it to level 9, we get a choice of another spell. Counterspell again, super effective as well. We can go with Tidal Wave. This is actually a really effective spell because this sets up water and knocks targets prone. If you got Mistress spells, this is definitely a very effective one because then your next lightning spell will deal double damage. Or your next cold spell. At level 10, we get the Arcane Absorption subclass feature. You can channel arcane power to absorb incoming arcane energy. When hit by a spell attack, you gain a bonus to melee and spell attack rolls, and you deal additional damage equal to the spell's level. You can hold the absorbed arcane energy for a number of turns equal to your intelligence modifier, or until expended in melee with a melee weapon or spell attack. And we can choose another cantrip here, so personal preference at this point, but Bone Chill is also really good. And for the spell, we get level 4 spells here, with things like Minor Elementals being really nice. Even Ice Storm can be great for the crowd control that it brings, because you can just lay down ice surfaces, people trip and fall. At level 11, we get the Arcane Penetration. You can ignore resistance to force damage, which is nice because, I mean, there's only a couple places where force is going to be common, or force resistances pop up in Act 3. But we're going to take the Ice Storm spell here at next level. I think that just works best. And at level 12, we get to take Cone of Cold. And for our feat, an ability score improvement to increase our dexterity works really well here too. If we're using a two-handed weapon, we want to have a high strength as well, but you can also use strength potions. That's how we're going to get the maximum amount of damage. So dexterity or going with your strength there. Dexterity will give us a better armor class. Even though we get heavy armor, we still get a higher dexterity or armor class if we wear medium armor. Once we get to level 13, then we can take our Conjure Elemental, and this is great because it's going to set up some of our great damage spells. Once we get to level 14, we get a subclass feature, Arcane Weapon. You have mastered fusing arcane power with heavy arms. When using a two-handed melee weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier for attack rolls, and you ignore resistance to physical damage. So again, now you don't need to worry about strength. It can go all in on the dexterity for better armor class and initiative. And for our next level spell, Hold Monster, super useful. Being able to hold a monster in place is actually really good. At level 15, we get another spell here, and we get access to level 6 spells, so Wall of Ice, Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, and Chain Lightning being some of the top damaging spells. Chain Lightning is probably the most effective one here, but Odaluk's Freezing Sphere is also really fun. So that's what we'll take with our level 16 spell, because it just hits really hard. Globe of Invulnerability is also really effective. Always have someone with that at some point. And for our next feat, an ability score improvement is always nice. 20 dexterity is great. Alert for the +5 initiative can also be really good. Savage Attacker, if you're finding your melee attacking more often, this will reroll your damage dice twice. And the Tough feat will give us an extra 40 health, so that can be good too for survivability's sake. At level 17, we get just a choice of spell here, and we can go back. We didn't take counter spell, so we'll take counter spell there. At level 18 here, we get the subclass feature Arcane Immunity. When you're strengthened by Arcane Absorption, you can't be blinded, charmed, paralyzed, or stunned, or put to sleep by magic. And we just choose another spell. Just Wall of Ice. It's nice. So level 19 gives us our final feat, and we get to choose another spell here. Globe of Invulnerability being very effective. And we're gonna go with the Savage Attacker to reroll damage die twice for better strength, because once we hit this level here, we get the improved extra attack. So now we want to attack often. We also get the improved quick cast. You have perfected the fusion of arcane power and martial techniques. After you cast a spell, you make 2 free weapon attacks. Pretty crazy. You'll see how we can go about doing that. And then we get a choice of another spell here. So you can go back and take one of the previous spells that you didn't take. Steel Wind Strike is also a very good spell. 60-10 to 5 different targets. Really nice. And something like Raltham Psychic Lance can also be good too, but we're going with Steel Wind Strike. It's just really strong. Now, what this ends up looking like in terms of gear, I'll show you here. So what we'll roll with for gear, we got ourselves the Hood of the Weave for increased spell casting and the Cloak Protection for better armor class. We got a pretty strong 28 AC. This gives us that +3 for the arcane channeling, and as I mentioned, medium armor is going to be our best armor, so we can also sneak around and get a +2 to our saving throws from the armor of agility. Helldust Gloves gives us additional fire damage on our attacks and increase our spell save DC. This is definitely one that you want to have. Early game, you can go with the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies. That's going to be a good choice. And the Boots of Stormy Clamor, but we got ourselves the Evasive Shoes for that +1 to armor class and acrobatics. And we got ourselves the Amulet of Greater Health just to give us 223 health. Killer Sweetheart for the free crit, and the Ring of Protection for the +1 armor class. For some reason, this has the Arcane Channeling impeded. I'm not sure why it says that, but we have the Sword of Chaos here as our sword of choice, but we can also swap out, if you want to min-max this as much as possible, the Baldur and Giant Slayer are just going to be your best option, especially with the Strength Potion. This becomes really crazy. So you also get the Giant Form. This is just a very powerful weapon in general, and it can go crazy hard with this build in mind. Now, I also got the Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to initiative, and I'll show you what this ends up looking like in actual combat. So before we get into combat, we can also go ahead and swap out the Staff of Spell Power, which what this is going to do is give us a free cast of a spell, so we can summon in our Water Myrmidon without having to cost ourselves a spell slot. So we can do this to give ourselves that free level 6 spell, and this is going to be nice because it can set up double damage for our cold and lightning spells. In addition to this, we also got the Minor Elemental, so we can summon in our Ice Mephits as well. So those are really good too. So we got those now in play, and then we can swap back and take our sword again. I guess don't have an action right now because I paused combat, but once you got that, we can also go with the Enlarged Self. So this is the giant form from the Baldur and Giant Slayer. And if you have the mirror image, you can then go ahead and hit yourself with that for the +9 to your armor class. Now, what we're going to end up doing here, I guess we'll just get ourselves into a combat encounter. Steel Wind Strike can be a pretty crazy way to start combat off, so we're just going to go ahead and do this here, hitting multiple targets and rolling crits on all of them. Maybe, we'll see. So bonk, 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 bonk. You can fly around Naruto style, attacking them all, and it does a pretty good amount of damage. Now, what we want to do is we got ourselves this arcane channeling here, which when using a Using our weapon, we can enhance it with additional 5d4 of force damage that ignores resistances. So this is almost like a smite style attack. We can go in and bonk with this, and it's going to hit pretty hard. You can see there, pretty powerful. And then we'll just go ahead and use this on another target, and yeah, it's just cutting them down like butter. So as you can see, very strong. I probably should have just went with a spell here first to start things off. But we also got ourselves Misty Step, so we can use this to position ourselves into better places. We got Counterspell, of course we did. That's unfortunate. It's a weird thing to counterspell, but hey, it happens. So spread yourself out, and we'll get into our next turn. The thing with our elemental too is we can get it into the center of everything, and if we got the healing vapors, this will actually heal everyone. Now what this does is it's going to set up water in this huge area. I would only recommend doing this at the start of combat, because setting up wet can be crazy devastating, and if we hit them with like lightning or cold spells, it's going to blast really hard. So that's where this can be crazy strong and worth taking the water elemental over the others. So now we have all these targets over here that are going to take double damage from our cold or lightning spells. So you can go with something like a Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, which you can see there hits everybody. So anyone that's going to get anyone that takes this damage that's wet will take double damage. Alternatively, you can use Chain Lightning, but I think Odaluk's Freezing Sphere ends up being the better bang for our buck, because we can hit more targets, and with this we're going to create an ice surface. And yeah, that took out a couple of them there. This added more guards to the fight because we took out civilians, unfortunately. But then we get the improved extra attack, so that after we cast a spell, we get to attack again. So that's what we are going to do. So we can just go ahead with our attack here, critically hit a target. And I don't have ice boots on. I probably should have invested in that for this, but we can always run over and start yeeting these ones here. And we got this will also stack on our arcane ability. So now we got ourselves another choice to make here. I guess we could just go with a spell. I guess if we have a single damage spell, we can even drop a Glow of Invulnerability, which could be pretty nice. But I guess what we'll do is we'll just drop our Scorching Ray. We'll go with something like that, and we'll upcast it to level 4 and just yeet this target here. 95% hit chance. Didn't do it for us, but the nice thing about this is this class lets us go around and attack afterwards. So yeah, it gets crazy. Then we'll move up into this position here. Don't think, yeah, I can't hit any targets. I can hit this guy though. We'll do that. And then what we'll do is we'll Misty Step our way up to here, and we'll get ourselves into a better position for our next turn. So good way to end it off. So I unfortunately got hit with slowed by this target here. So they're now my target, and we're going to get rid of them because they only got 45 health. And we're just going to drop a Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. I guess we don't have a level 6 spell slot. Funny enough, this spell can actually be upcast because we do have higher level spell slots, but we can upcast a Chain Lightning. So that's what we're going to do. And this will hopefully take them out, but they also got Counterspell. This is the bane of my existence right now. That burned up our spell, but I guess we'll have to use our level 8 spell. That's on them for trying to test us, so that'll delete them. Get rid of the slowed on us too, but unfortunately, because that hit us, it does remove our ability to do the extra attacks. So that's not the best turn, but it happens. And then we got our elemental here, which he can attack with this attack here, but he's also got the explosive icicle. Not a very high hit chance, especially when they're close range, so we'll just go with his melee attack here and attack this target, which is lower on health, with a critical block. Of course they did. Unfortunately, our Myrmidon did not make it through that night, so we got to resort to some other tactics, which we got some pretty powerful ones here. So Tidal Wave, really effective. We're going to hit this right here, which will create water on a few targets. Unfortunately, I took out all the targets that I thought I was going to hit, and we created electrical surfaces there. But what I wanted to do was hit them with the Cone of Cold here. That would have hit in multiple targets. But what we can do is we can line this up. We are going to get zapped, but we're going to go ahead with our own zapping here and hit with a level 4 lightning bolt. So this is going to hit 2 targets there, and it took out both 2 targets. Exactly what we wanted. Now we can move ahead here and strategically not step on the ice because I forgot my boots at home. And I'll go ahead with our free 2 attacks after our spell that we cast. So inflicted with Fairy Fire, which is perfect, and that took him out. So that is the Duskblade Spell Knight build in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Shouts out to the BG3 Duskblade class for making this awesome mod, and hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.